Episode 11.
The politicization of religion in Nigeria. In Nigeria, as in some other African countries, Islam had a long tradition of moderation and liberality towards non-Islamic innovations, like Western education and democracy, until Islamic fundamentalism or Saudi Arabia Wahhabism was imported in the 1970s. David McCormack, in The Global Spread of Islamism and the Consequences for Terrorism, posited that more than $40 billion had been sent to Africa from Middle East charities since the 1970s. He submitted that Islamists are adept at exploiting local conditions to advance their agenda through political and social welfare, thereby corroding moderate Islamic and secular traditions. For example, there was a sense of endangerment in northern Nigeria after the January 1966 coup that killed northern political leaders, among others, including the Prime Minister, Sir Tafawa Balewa, and the Premier of the region, Sir Ahmedu Bello, Sardauna of Sokoto, the major political support of Sheikh Abubakar Mahmoud Gumi, the Grand Qadi of Northern Region and the founder of Izala movement. Suspecting the new political power in the region after the civil war would curtail his views of Islam, he approached his friends in Saudi Arabia for moral, doctrinal, and financial support to promote the Wahhabist interpretation of Islam. Saudi Arabia directly funded Izala movement's Islamic fundamentalism, which has taken hold of the largely Muslim north, with Boko Haram arising as the most prominent group since 2009. The 1970s and 1980s were times of political and religious turmoil in Nigeria, characterized by governmental upheaval and aggressive confrontation between moderate Islam and Islamic fundamentalism. That was the beginning of the intermeshing of religion in the struggle for political influence and preservation of the interests of Nigerian Muslims. Before then, there was no commonly perceived national threat among Christians. Nonetheless, the churches in the northern region were compelled to come together to find a way of helping their members to stand against Islamization drive of the Sardauna of Sokoto. He paid as much attention to the conversion of people to Islam in addition to running the state. He was both a political as well as a religious leader. Hence, he was not fascinated as leader of his political party, Northern People Congress, NPC, to form the national government at independence in 1960 as Prime Minister, which would have relocated him to the south. He must have had a preference for a more important God's work at hand to do as regional Premier. In the southern regions, there was no sufficiently religious political leadership nor politicized religious leadership as it was in the north. For that reason, there was a lack of national unity among Christian churches. Notwithstanding, the northern churches came together as an association to ensure that they helped many people to stand firm by their religious conviction and not give it up simply because of fear of losing their job or their position. On the other hand, the occupation of southern churches and Christian organizations was quality of life, that is, the standard of health, comfort and happiness experienced by members and education. Consequently, the interaction among the Christian churches remained largely on a cautious note until the mid-70s, when the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, was formed in 1976. It was facilitated by the invitation of the Obasanjo military regime to various church denominations to discuss religious and moral instruction in the education system and bring about national cohesion. It was their meeting with Brigadier Shehu Adjuwa, the Chief of Staff of the Supreme Military Headquarters, that brought the realization of the need for a platform that would give Nigerian Christians a common voice. Whereas Jama'atu Nasrul Islam, JNI, Group for the Victory of Islam, the umbrella group under which all Islamic organizations in northern Nigeria rally around, was initiated in 1962 by Alhaji Sir Ahmadu Bello, Sardauna of Sokoto, for the propagation of Islam, and it later birthed Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, NSCIA, in 1973 as the authoritative voice of Nigerian Muslims. One of its cardinal objectives is the promotion of the continued application of Sharia in Nigeria. Even so, the Church really does not have an authoritative voice. The Christians, especially in the southern states, are so wedded to the world that the real mission or assignment of the Church becomes ambiguous. Though the path of the just is supposed to shine brighter and brighter unto the perfect day, it is not so, because she is being given too many confusing messages about her purpose here and where she is going. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 18. Christians do not know whether they are supposed to wait for the Antichrist to take over, wait for the nations to partner with it and the righteous remnant to be raptured out, or whether they are supposed to take a stand for their generation, see global revival, and affect the culture. Therefore, there is a little mix-up as to how to literally prepare for and engage an opposition or persecution. How should Christians respond? The Lord expects the path of the Church, meaning Christians, should get brighter in the midst of the world that is getting darker. Ordinarily, darkness refers to iniquity, evil, and sin. But real darkness is ignorance. When people in the presence of so much technology and overload of information from the internet are getting stupider, their judgment, their way of perceiving what they hope is right or wrong is getting morally stupider, more ignorant. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and in all your getting, get understanding. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7. In the present internet age, there is a lot of knowledge due to so much information, especially on social media, whereas some are true, others are false. But how much are Christians walking in illumination to have good judgment on any matter or situation? There is illumination when Christians submit to the Spirit of God in every information received, and they are able to see what is not evident to the average mind. This is understanding. Therefore, the church in Nigeria today should be like the sons of Issachar, who had the understanding of the times to know what Israel ought to do. 1 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32. It is light only that makes darkness manifest.
Thank you for listening to episode 11 of Show the House to the House. You can now listen to the final episode, episode 12, on the same channel.